The Winter War by Priscilla Shirer with Gina Detweiler. Chapter 6, The Garden. Man, we left the Prince Warriors in a fix a while ago, didn't we? It just started snowing. And to be honest, I'm not sure if the snow was supposed to be a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it was supposed to be a good thing. Anyway, now we're on Chapter 6, The Garden. The dragon flew for miles through the darkening sky, carrying the small group of warriors. They didn't speak to each other. They were too shocked and sad, and too cold. Only the heat of the dragon's body kept them from freezing solid, although their tears formed little ice crystals on their faces. They passed over the mountain of Rima, which was now surrounded by the iron chariots. Despite the storm, smoke rose from the top of the peak. It was not the gentle wisps of the breath that the warriors had seen on their first trip to the mountain. The smoke was dark and violent, born of a bright orange-yellow substance that now churned at the crater. Lava, Manuel said. The mountain has become a volcano. The warriors gazed at the newly formed volcano in shock. After what seemed like forever, Tannen let out a loud "gwrrp." The sound was half warning, half burp. The warriors braced themselves as Tannen dove straight down, letting go of the children, who gasped as they dropped to the ground, landing on a soft pile of snow. Tannen shot back up into the air, twirled around to waggle his wing in farewell, and flew away. The belts had separated before they landed, allowing the warriors to roll away from each other, rubbing their sore elbows and knees and backsides. Everywhere they looked was snow, glowing faintly under the night sky. Before them stood a stone arch, the kind that might lead to a garden. The kids pulled themselves to their feet and trudged wearily toward the archway, buckling on their belts as they went. "I think that's the Garden of Red," said Evan as they neared the entrance. There was no snow here, only large patches of dirt and bare trees along the path. Dried up vines hung from the tree branches, looking like creepy spider legs. "Look, there's the stone." The warriors paused before the large stone near the entrance with the words, "Garden of Red," engraved on its surface. The garden was where they had first received their seed shields. Back then, it had been lush and green and fragrant, filled with plants of every variety. But now there didn't seem to be a single thing alive. "At least it's warmer here," as they entered the garden, said Manuel. The heavy crust of ice on their armor began to melt, allowing them to breathe more deeply and stand up straight without feeling as though they were weighed down by some unbearable burden. "It must be the garden, but everything is dead," said Brianna. "Not quite," said a whispering voice. The kids jumped, spinning around to see who had spoken. "It was Rue," Evan said, his voice quavering a little. "It must have been Rue." "It didn't sound like him," said Levi. "What's that smell?" Brianna wrinkled her nose in disgust. "It's awful, like a garbage dump." "No, more organic," Manuel said, "like compost or rotting leaves." "It's weird to see this place so empty," Evan said with a shiver. "Empty?" said Brianna. "That's exactly how it feels. A giant empty," said Evan. "Warriors." This time it was definitely Ruach's voice, coming from somewhere in the garden. They whirled around, searching for him, but not seeing him. "Come to me." "Where is he?" whispered Brianna. "I can't tell," said Manuel, looking all around. They started down the narrow garden path, searching for the familiar form of Ruach, their friend and guide. They could still hear his voice calling to them, but for some reason they could not see him. The path broke into several different paths, and soon they were confused and filled with panic. The smell of rottenness had become nearly overwhelming. "He's not here," said Brianna. fear rising in her voice. "This is a trick. We're on Skatos. We're in Ponyros's prison." "No, no," said Levi. "He's here." Levi headed down a small, winding path alone. The others followed him. The path was very dark, but the smell receded as they walked. "Are you sure?" Brianna asked, but Levi didn't answer. Then they saw him, Ruach. The small figure stood in the center of the path under a large barren tree, his purple cloak glowing in the darkness, accentuating the emptiness of his hood. Levi got to him first. Ruach extended his long arm, a brilliantly glowing hand emerging from his cloak. He placed his hand on Levi's shoulder. Levi's head dropped, but he didn't speak. The others caught up, and Ruach withdrew his hand, hiding it in the voluminous sleeve. "Boy, are we glad to see you," said Evan. "There's something weird going on in this place. What is that smell? Have you been fertilizing or something?" "Evan," Xavier huffed, "I was just asking. This place could use some fertilizer." "What's happened, Ruach?" Brianna asked. "Is it really winter in Ahortos?" Ruach nodded, his hood silently. The kids looked at each other. "For how long?" Brianna whispered. 40, said Ruach. 40? 40 what? Days, weeks, years? Ruach didn't answer. "Hey, guys." They turned to see Ivy coming toward them down the path. She had taken off her helmet, but her red hair remained plastered to her head. She was out of breath. "Ivy!" Brianna rushed over to hug her friend. "I'm so thankful you're all right." "Yeah, I'm fine." Ivy brushed past Brianna and joined the others. "How did you get here?" said Evan. "I'm not really sure. We were fighting the forgers and the sparks came, and all of a sudden, I was here." "Did you see the Finian guy?" Evan asked. "Is he okay?" "Finnish," corrected Manuel. "Yeah, there's actually 2 of them, twins, Callie and Christian. We stopped the forgers at the bridge, thanks to Tannen, but we couldn't stop those chariots. They took the mountains of Rima. The breath is gone." Everyone was silent a moment. The truth almost too awful to hear. It was the breath of the mountain of Rima that had given them their swords. The breath was the core of Ahortos. It didn't seem possible that something so mighty and enduring could be cut off by the evil schemes of Ponyros. "We really blew it," Evan said aloud, what everyone else was thinking. "We shouldn't have gone over the bridge. If we'd stayed where we were supposed to be, maybe we could have stopped those tank things." "It was his fault," Levi said, rounding on Xavier in sudden fury. "You did exactly what Ponyros wanted you to do. You could have gotten us killed." "Hey, take it easy," said Brianna, stepping in front of Levi. "He made a mistake, okay? He did his best." "I'm never following him again." Levi spun on his heels and stalked away. "Levi, come back," Brianna said, starting to follow him. "Let him go," commanded Ruach. "I will speak to him." "I'm sorry about that, Xavier," Brianna said, glancing at Xavier's stricken face. "He didn't mean it. He's not himself today. I don't know what's going on with him, but I'm sure he'll apologize when he realizes what he said." "He's right," said Xavier, hanging his head. "If I hadn't gone over the bridge, I put everyone in danger." "You couldn't have stopped those chariots anyway," said Ivy. "We can still beat Ponyros, can't we?" Evan looked hopefully to Ruach. "We can get him off that mountain." "Yeah," said Finn. "Ponyros knows he can't win against us." Ruach finally spoke. "It was not Ponyros who drove the Ascalons to the mountain." "Aska who?" said Evan. "The Ascalons, the iron chariots. That's what you call them. So weird. If it wasn't Ponyros, then who was it?" asked Brianna. "It was Ponyros's new forger general, Thane. You mean the big monster guy in the tank? Said Evan. He threw his hands in the air. So there's a new guy in charge now. Great, that's all we need. But how could he get to the mountain? Asked Xavier, ignoring his little brother. I mean, how could Ponyrose or this Thane character cut off the breath? Ruach's hood bowed slightly. Because it is winter. Winter is the time of rest, sleep, but also testing. It can be a difficult time when life seems absent. The warriors looked around at the barren garden, understanding what that meant. No one said anything for a long time. Finally, Ruach spoke again. You must return to your world now. But before you do, I have a gift for you. Xavier straightened, nervous and a little fearful. Ruach didn't move at all. But next to him, something started to wriggle out of the ground. A tiny green shoot. It grew up right before their eyes until it was twice as tall as Ruach. Small branches with tiny leaves popped up as it grew, but then instantly withered and fell off. Its main trunk suddenly stopped growing and turned brown until it looked more like a stick. Ruach plucked the stick from the snow. He handed it to Xavier. This is for you. Xavier took the stick and stared at it, befuddled. Thanks, I think. What's it for? It didn't look like much of a gift. You will soon find out, replied Ruach. Go now, all of you. You will know when it's time to return. Then he disappeared, and so did the garden.